Well, hello everyone. My name is Steven and I am with a Crafty Situation and Mosaic Moments, and I wanted to welcome you to our Facebook recorded presentation. I am really happy that you're joining us and appreciate your time. I am sorry for anybody that's watching that had planned to attend the CKC Manchester show, that show was canceled. We had really hoped that when the show was rescheduled to September, that all of this COVID-19 business would be behind us and we would be able to come and have a fun and exciting show. And of course, unfortunately, that didn't happen. But on behalf of all of us here at A Crafty Situation and certainly Mosaic Moments, we hope that you're healthy and that you're safe, that you're able to watch from home and craft from home, and that this has been an enjoyable and a fun experience so far for you. So what I want to do in this presentation is I'm actually going to work on building a 12 by 12 page with one of our newer die sets. I'm going to show you a couple of die sets that we have with Mosaic Moments and kind of give you a little bit of an introduction. So whether you're brand new or you're being reintroduced to Mosaic Moments, or you are a seasoned pro, I think there is something during this time together that you'll be able to pick up and follow. And then towards the end of the presentation, I'll let you know that we have some great promotions going on, including 2 die sets that are on extra special sale for this weekend. So do stay tuned for those, and I'll go over those towards the end of my presentation. So the die set that I actually want to feature and one that I'm going to build a page on today is our Horizon 3x5 A and B set. Now, last year, some of you may remember, I did teach a class on the Horizon die sets. At that time, we had 4 different die sets. We had our original Horizon set, we had Horizon 2x4, Horizon 1x4, and Horizon 4x5. So we did not have this Horizon 3x5 A and B set. This set is almost a year old. It was released last September, but it was not released by our event last year. So if you remember us from last year and you took the Horizon class, this is a new and a different set. Just as a recap or as an introduction to the Horizon series, what our Horizon series is it's dies that go through a big shot machine. So it's wafer thin dies that allow you, when you complement it with our Mosaic Moments grid paper, which I'll go over in a second, to make a design similar to what you see here with our drafts. It's going to create that circle effect in the middle of the page. And why the Horizon series is really nice, and it's probably one of my favorite series from Mosaic Moments, is number one, it's super easy to use. So if you're just looking to get started with us and you want to venture out a little bit beyond the normal squares and rectangles and add some circles to your page, Horizon is a really great series to use. The second reason I like it is depending on how you pair it with the different dies in the Horizon series, you really have a lot of flexibility with your pictures. So if you take a look at my draft page here, there's 9 pictures on this page, and really 5 of them are larger portions of the picture, which I like. So whether you have really close-up shots that you need to have the larger part of the photograph, or you have some farther away shots where you're only using smaller portions of the photograph, what's nice about Horizon is it really can accommodate you quite well. With our Horizon series, the way the first 4 die sets work is they're all based on the original Horizon set. So if you go to our website at acraftysituation.com and you search Horizon set, that's the set in the first 4 sets that you need to really get started. And what the Horizon set does is it gives you the pieces to make this page that you see in front of me here with the drafts. It's going to give you a page to make a big circle, and then you're going to be able to put a square photograph in the middle. From there, we expanded upon the Horizon set, and we actually added another piece, which was our Horizon 4x5 set. And what the Horizon 4x5 set, and I'll put these side by side here, what's a little bit different about this is rather than having 3 pictures in the middle here, you can actually have 2 larger photos again. So again, if you have, maybe you only have 8 photographs which fit on this page nicely, or you have really close-up shots that you want to capture, like of our sea turtles here, using the Horizon 4x5 set allows you to create 2 larger photos while still maintaining that overall circle. The third addition to the Horizon set, of course, is our Horizon 2x4. And what the 2x4 does is it still maintains 9 photos on a page, but it allows you to use almost an entire 4x6 photo in the middle. So rather than having to cut down your photo in any way, shape, or form, it's going to give you 2 skinnier pieces on the side, but it's going to allow you to use a bigger photo here in the middle. So that's Horizon 2x4. The final piece that was in our original Horizon series was our 1x4 die set. I don't have that featured on a page in front of me now, but that was just a little bit smaller of a piece that allowed you to do some other things too, like make a circle in the middle. And we'll probably do a video on the Horizon 1x4 die at some future point in time. But now what we have is the Horizon 3x5 A and B set. And this set is great for 2 reasons, or for multiple reasons, 2 that I really like to highlight. The first thing is, unlike our first 4 Horizon sets, which depended upon the original Horizon set to make a page, meaning you had to have pieces from a couple of different die sets, this Horizon 3x5 A and B set stands alone. So you could buy this set alone and you can make this page. Or you can make a couple of different pages using the Horizon 3x5 set. So it's not dependent on the original Horizon set. It's not dependent on any of the previous Horizon dies. Again, you can use this just as a standalone piece. What's nice also about this set is that it still allows for excellent array of photo usage. And what I mean by that is you'll see here on this design here, I have 6 different photographs on here, and they're really 6 photographs that are larger in size. So it's not just small photos or anything like that. You really get a good piece from each photograph, including 2 really nice ones in the middle. It can be complemented differently too. You could have a large rectangle in the middle if you wanted to. You could have smaller photos. So there's a lot of variation that you can use with the Horizon 3x5 A and B set. Now, some of you know me as far as doing page designs. One of the things that I like to do when I get a new die set is not only make the classic or the not only make the page the way the die set was designed to make, but I like to think sometimes out of the box. How can I make a page that is you know, a little bit different, or using the same elements in our die set, but uses them in a different way to showcase my photos? One of the ways that I did this with the Horizon 3x5 set is I made a page that highlights footballs. So I've got you know, some football pictures here from the University of Maryland. And this is back from last year when, of course, college football was going on, or scheduled to happen, as the case may be. And I wanted to have a page that was kind of my starting page to some of those pictures that I took during the game. And I wanted to have a big football. Because what happened was, when I looked at this die set, I kind of saw, when I flipped it over and saw the dies that are included, my eye, for whatever reason, immediately went to a half football shape. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be a really neat design to make from this die set. So this is actually the page that I'm going to recreate. When I've shown this in previous videos, I've gotten a lot of emails and a lot of messages to get instructions on how to make this page. It's really super, super simple. So I promised that I would do a video and figured that I would incorporate it into the presentation for today. So if you are a football fan, or you wanted to make a football page, or you wanted to find another use, maybe you already own the Horizon 3x5 A and B set, that is what we're going to do, is we're going to make this page. So what I want to do here is I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction to Mosaic Moments if you've never worked with our system before, and kind of show you how quick and how easy it is. Let me get everything laid to the side here. I'm going to actually move my football page up to my top left-hand corner of my screen here and have kind of the football showing, so that way when I'm making my page, you can kind of see exactly what pieces or elements that I'm putting down onto my page. So if you're brand new to Mosaic Moments, everything starts with our grid paper. Our grid paper is one of the first things that Tammy came out with when she invented the Mosaic system. And what's unique about our grid paper is it has or comes with a pre-printed grid on the front of the page. And what the grid is it's 10 squares by 10 squares, so 10 squares across by 10 squares up and down. and each of the squares is 1 inch by 1 inch, and then there's an 1/8 of an inch gap in between each of those 1 inch by 1 inch squares. What the grid allows you to do is when you're placing your elements on your page, you're going to line up to the grid without going over. So you want to just cover that grid without going over. And what that does is when you're finished, to your audience, it gives a beautiful, finished, polished look. All of your elements line up vertically and horizontally, and it's very beautiful and appeasing to the eye because the eye likes to see, things lining up, that symmetry, that flow, things like that. So there's that even spacing in between all of your elements. Everything's lined up. There's nothing crooked or out of place or anything like that. So the grid paper helps you do that. Again, I know some people look at the grid lines and they're like, oh my gosh, there's lines on the page. Again, when you're working with our system, you're going to cover those grid lines up. So you need not worry about that. Our Mosaic Moments grid paper comes in 12 by 12 size. And in the 12 by 12 size, we have over 100 different colors. So for the original football page, I was using Mud Pie, which is out of our Trailblazer series of papers. I used that just because I looked at that, I kind of thought of it as a good football color, kind of accent my football nicely. So I used that color. However, for the purposes of this video and to give good contrast on our camera, I'm going to use our white color grid paper. But again, we have over 100 different colors. So if there is if you have a favorite color or a favorite theme of colors that you like to work with, I'm pretty sure that you're going to be able to find a color that suits your purpose, because we also have all of our colors in different shades and things like that. So we have a lot of variability for you there. The other sizes that our grid paper also comes in is 8.5 by 11. We also have it in 6 by 6 size and 8 by 8 size. Not in all the different 100 colors, but we have those different sizes. And if you're a card maker, or you do scrapbooking and card making, we haven't left you out either. We do have Mosaic Moments grid cards as well that you can use to make cards if you like sending cards to friends. All right, so I'm going to be working with our 12 by 12 grid paper here in white. I'm also going to be using my repositionable adhesive by Scrapbook Adhesive by 3L. We use repositionable adhesive, and specifically this brand, because when I'm putting my elements down on my page, I want to just cover my grid lines without going over. However, sometimes, and especially on live video, I will make a boo-boo. I'll either go shoot too much over my grid line, or I won't cover my grid line enough. What the repositionable adhesive does is it allows you to pick up that element that you just put down on your grid paper without destroying either the element or the grid paper, and place it down where it was meant to go. The second thing that's nice about it is it does become more permanent over time. So I typically say you have about 24 hours of flexibility to play with this and adjust and move and change elements, and then it becomes permanent without you having to do anything else. So I made this football page months ago. I haven't had it in a page protector or anything like that. None of the elements have fallen off. Everything's on there solidly. It's a beautiful adhesive to use, so I do recommend that. The third thing, like I said, that I'm going to be using is our Horizon dies. And what's nice about our dies, and we have over 200 different die sets, including the Horizon 3x5 A and B set, is they are wafer thin. They go through the Big Shot or die cutting machine that you have. What's nice is I like to say that we have a fussy cutting free system, meaning you don't need to use snips for any of your cutting. We're going to cut both our cardstock or pattern paper, and we're going to cut our photos using our dies. So you don't need to worry about having your snips or your scissors handy. Everything's cut using our dies when we use our Mosaic system. This is the Horizon 3x5 A and B set out of its packaging. So here it is again in its packaging. Here it is outside of its packaging. Some people have asked what magnetic sheets I use to hold my dies. These are the 6-inch by 7-inch magnetic sheets from Stampin' Storage. I really like Stampin' Storage for holding my dies, because then what I do is I have my dies on the front, and then on the back I have a picture of what my die set looks like. So I know that I have all my dies, because sometimes I'm messy at crops or even messy at home, to make sure everything stays where it's supposed to be and I have everything that I'm supposed to. So we're going to use our dies, we're going to use our repositionable adhesive, we're going to use our grid paper, and then we're going to use some of our cardstock and our pattern paper in order to make the football page. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that I wanted to say, or the first thing that I wanted to show and get laid down real quick, is our photo mats and our 1-inch squares that we have at the top here. So you can see how I kind of made a design here. I have room for 3 photos up here. These photos fill an area that are 3 squares by 4 squares on the grid. And then these are little 1 square by 1 square blocks that I did the 2019 in. So the 2019 is done with one of our alphabet sets, or one of our number sets, excuse me. It's called number set number 1. It's one of my favorite number sets to use. And we do have 4 different number sets, so you can kind of pick the one that you like. You could put numbers here. You could just have brown squares like I'm going to do for this demonstration. You could have a little bit of journaling here. You could have University of Maryland or whatever particular team you're making the page for. There's a variety of different things that you can do in this block. I just chose to do the date for this reason here. The rectangles that I cut here, so what I did is I cut 3 rectangles using our basic die set. Our basic die set has squares and rectangles in. I cut 3 rectangles to serve as photo mats for my photos. So what I did is I already pre-cut those. Now the coordinating cardstock that I used, I wanted to have cardstock that was kind of similar to what I would envision to be a football color. Now, what I'll tell you is, in my stash of hundreds and thousands of sheets of cardstock, I couldn't find a brown that I liked the best. I had this extra piece laying here for probably years, and this suited for this page, but when I wanted to go back to recreate the page for you for this video, I couldn't find a suitable brown. It was either too light or had too much tannin, so it didn't suit me. But, and this is going to scare some Mosaic Moments fans, but actually where I found this brown in this color, and I like it because it has some texture, is it's actually a piece of our Mosaic Moments grid paper. So one of the nice things about our grid paper is it does have the grid on one side, but then on the back it's blank. So what I will sometimes do when I'm trying to find coordinating colors, or maybe I have that extra 1 sheet of 12 by 12 grid paper laying around, what I will do is I will use that. I will use the back of it as my coordinating cardstock or my color cardstock. In this case, this is going to be my brown for my football. I'll use that for another page. So you can certainly do that. I do it a lot. The first time it kind of freaked me out. I'm like, this is supposed to be grid paper, but the back certainly can work. If you love the color, it certainly works wonderfully to use as your coordinating cardstock on your page. So what I'm going to do very, very quickly here, just so that we can frame our page together correctly, is I am going to just glue down our rectangles in the top left-hand corner and work across the top just before we get ready to do our football. So I am working on lining those up. And again, you can see on camera here that I'm lining up to just cover the grid line without going over. Doing the same thing here for my middle rectangle. And then what this allows me to do is then once I have my 3 photos that I want to use on the page here, I'm going to use my layering dies, either from my basic set or my layering dies bundle. And I'm going to use those, and then I'll cut my photos with those dies. So again, no fussy cutting. I'll cut my photos with those dies, and it creates that nice photo mat underneath these brown rectangles do. So that's the purpose of these brown rectangles, is to cut a nice brown, or is to show a nice brown photo mat underneath. And then I'll add my photographs later on. So I've got my 3 rectangles placed here. And then what I'm going to do very quickly is just go and place my 4 squares. I did not, for the purposes of this page, I did not cut 2019. Again, you can use anything you'd like here. So I just am going to use 4 brown squares just to show you here where I'm at on the page. So there's my first one. My second square. Square number 3 and square number 4 here. And again, these are already pre-cut just to save some time. For the rectangles, I used the pink basic set. So that's set number C, or set letter C. That's the pink color if you have our colored dyes bundle. So I used that in order to create the rectangles, and the squares were cut with our 1x1 square that's found in basic set A, which is blue. So that was the smallest die that's in basic set A, which is blue. So I've got my 4 squares laid down, so you can see here how I've replicated my top of my page. Now I'm ready to get started on my football. And what's fun about this football is it's so darn easy, it's going to be almost comical when we're done here. So I'm going to place this at the top here just so I have a little bit more room. Now the first thing that I wanted to tell you is I wanted to show you what I decided to use as the football field in the background. You have a lot of different options. Certainly probably one of the simplest options if you want to replicate this and you don't have a football field is you can use green paper. Green paper would look beautiful back here. I just kind of wanted to get that grass effect. So green paper works nicely back here if you have a piece of green cardstock that you want to use. The second thing that of course you can use is you can use designer paper or pattern paper that may be like a football field. I know that there's a couple of different stores or you can find some pattern paper online that will match your football field quite nicely. What I actually am using here is when I was at a football game, and I don't even remember if it was the same football game, but I took a picture of the football field. I am known when I go out and about, I have my iPhone with me, I have a digital camera with me, and I'm just shooting random pictures. Sometimes it's flowers, sometimes it's something interesting I see, a mural or the sky or some kind of background, and I'll just pick and choose those for background images. In this case, I took a picture of the football field, and then what I did when I took the picture is I went through and I actually took the picture and then divided it into 4 4x6 photographs. So I divided it into 4 4x6 photographs because then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our dies and I'm going to cut these photographs in order to use the background as my football. So I'm going to go through and then I'm going to do the cutting in order to use those similar to the way it was done here. So that was my little secret there. If you can't find the perfect piece of pattern paper, take a look at your photographs. Now the reason why I printed these in 4x6 size rather than printing them in like an 8.5x11 or an 8x10 is because it's cheaper. I typically get almost all of my photos printed at CVS. I just like their quality. I think their quality is fine for my purposes. CVS, when they have their pictures on sale, it's typically 10 cents per 4x6 photo. I know if you go larger, like 5x7 or 8x10, the cost increases astronomically. I think like an 8x10 photo is $6 or $7. So I never try to print larger photos than 4x6, but what I will do, and I use the photos, the photo app on my, my Apple computer, is I'll take a larger photo and cut it up into 4 smaller sections to be able to get the 4x6 photos that I want. So that was my secret to doing that here. What I've done to save a little bit of time is I've actually already cut my pieces for my football field. I've got those cut already here, and that's these pieces here. So what I'll do is I'll just show you, again, I took my dies from my Horizon 3x5 set. And again, they're the wafer thin dies that you run through any die cutting machine. I laid them across my photograph and then I kept the outside piece that cut. So this outside piece here is what I kept in order to create the football field effect. So I've already got those pieces cut out. So again, for purposes of time, I just pre-cut those in advance. And then the next thing that I had to do is I actually had to cut the football shape. So again, I'm using the same color cardstock that I used before, and this comes from our Renaissance paper line. But what I did is I took my 4 rectangles of that, and this is the 4 rectangles. And I used, again, the same dies and ran it through my die cut machine. And for the football field now, what I did is I kept this outer portion. For the football itself, meaning the brown part, the actual football, I kept the inside portion. So that's how I basically got these 4 pieces here. Now what I will show you on screen here, just for an example, just so you can see how easy it is to die cut using our dies in case you're brand new, is I will bring our Big Shot machine up here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut one of the corners of my football here using my dies. So I've got my piece of cardstock here, and I've got my one of the pieces from my Horizon 3x5 A and B die set. Now the only thing that I am concerned about in cutting is this interior portion here. I don't care about this outside because again, that's my football field. That's the grass. So what I need to do is all I'm going to do is I'm just going to line up just to make sure that this interior portion, or this quarter oval as it is, or quarter of a football, just so that cuts out. Even though this is off the page here, I don't care about this outer portion. I'm just going to end up putting it to the side anyway. So I've made my sandwich now. I've put my top plate on, and I'm just going to run it through my Big Shot machine. And again, if you have a like a Spellbinder's Platinum machine, or a Vagabond machine, or a Gemini, it all works the same way. You have to determine what sandwiches you're going to use, but it cuts, making the sandwich, and our dies will work in those machines. So I have cut using my Horizon 3x5 A and B die, and I've got my piece here. Again, this is the piece that I'm most worried about, but you can see here how it's cut my piece out. I'm going to place these to the side. I don't need these. But this was actually able to cut one of my quadrants for my football. So that's how easy it was to use our die cut machine to cut that. Since I've got all 4 pieces out already, I'm going to go ahead and sit my Big Shot machine to the side. And so what I've finished now, or what I've got completed, is I've got my field and I've got my football. And what I'm going to do, just for visual purposes for this video, is I'm actually going to go ahead and start gluing down now, just so that you can see how everything's starting to come together. So I've got my field here, and this is my top left-hand corner of my field. I'm just placing some adhesive on here. And what I'm going to do is I always keep my grid paper so that I'm lining to the top left. That's just easier for me. Some people will put their grid lines so they're aligning to the bottom right or to other areas. I like the top left. It's easier for me to line up, but that's really a preference for you. But again, the same thing applies. You're going to line up the object or the element so that it just covers the grid line without going over. And that's what I was able to do with the top left. I've now moved to the bottom right here, and I'm just making sure that I apply enough adhesive. And now I'm going to line up to the top left corner again. And I'll apologize in advance if my head's in the picture. I just want to be able to make sure that I'm lining it up straight and correct here. I've got my bottom left side on here. Now what I'm going to do, my next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put my 2 pieces of my football in. Again, I'm going to repeat the same procedure. Just put some adhesive on. And then what's nice about the Horizon, this Horizon set, is this piece is meant to tuck right alongside my other piece. So I know that if I get it to where it's just touching it, and you don't want to go under the piece, or you don't want to go over top of the piece, I know that's going to line up nice and straight because it was cut with the same die. So they're meant to work inside one another there. So I'm going to put those 2 pieces in. I've got my bottom piece that I'm going to make sure it stays lined up with my line, but also just tucks again right alongside my bottom field piece here. And now I'm ready to do my right-hand side of the page. So I'm going to glue down my field piece first. And I'm going to line it up to my left-hand side and to my top line. Stick that down. Now I'm actually going to do my football pieces next. I'm going to save this bottom corner for just a second here because I want to show you a little trick with it. Okay, so I'm going to put my football piece into here. Just like so. Wonderful. Now, with this bottom piece, I've got a little bit of a trick here. I actually am going to, rather than applying my field piece down first, which is what I did for the other 3 quadrants, I'm actually going to apply my football piece down first. The reason why is because if I try to apply this piece, meaning my field piece or my outside piece, I don't really have good grid lines to work with because I like to have both a left and a top grid line to align to. And you're going to see no matter how you orient this piece here, I don't have that left and that top grid line to work with. So in order to accommodate or work with that, rather than putting this piece down first, I'm going to put the actual football piece down first. And what you're going to see by doing that is I'm able to align to a top and a left grid line here. So that makes it a little bit easier for me, and that's what I recommend that you do, is always work with your top and left grid line. And then what we did is we just worked in reverse. So I'm just going to glue this in here now, and I'm going to glue it to the bottom here, line it up to the football piece, and that way I make sure that everything stays nice and even and straight. So putting my adhesive down here, make sure I've good adhesive coverage. And now I'm going to align to the bottom, to that's kind of that circular area of the bottom here. And now everything is lined up first. So you kind of see it wasn't too much of a trick, but instead of starting with the field piece here, I did the football. So again, everything lines up and looks perfect. So if we take a look at our two layouts side by side, you can see here how I've nicely started to build my football here. And then the next thing I need to do is I need to make my stripes that go along the sides. Now this was a little bit of a trick. Somebody was asking how in the world I make my stripes. Well, if you remember back to our horizon set, there's actually some more pieces in our horizon set. There's 10 total dies in this set. I elected not to use these 2 dies at all, but we used the 2 bigger dies to certainly cut our outside pieces here. I actually used these 2 smaller dies here in order to do my stripes. So I used those 2 smaller pieces to do my stripes, and what I did, and you'll see it here as soon as I place the die on top, is I cut my stripes using the interior piece of this die. It was nice because it kept that nice rounded edge, and it was still using the same die set, so I didn't need to go out and look for different dies. So I cut 2 pieces of white from each of these 2 dies to create my 4 bands or my 4 stripes. And again, for purposes of time, I already have those pre-cut, and I just need to add them to my layout. And then what was nice about doing that, so that everything's nice and cut is nice and straight, is the only thing I needed to do was just figure out where exactly it lined up on my football at. And I think it's right about there. And then I just glued it down, lined it up with the bottom, glued it down, and then did the same thing with the bottom piece. Line it up, and then just glue it down. And this was a little bit of a kind of a free form of doing it. So if I didn't like it exactly there, I could move it over a little bit. And then I did the same thing for the other side. So for the other side, I'll start with the bottom here. Kind of look to see where to line it up at. Looks good right about there. So that same, like I said, that die came from the very same die set, the Horizon A and B set. And and just cut that and then just place it on the football there, and now you can see I've got my stripes down the side. Finally, I had to make my grip. I will post the measurements for the grip in the comments of the YouTube video, but the grip very easily was, this is a 1/2 inch strip that I just did with my paper trimmer by 3.5 inches. So that was just a trial and error when I originally made this. And all I did was cut that and just kind of centered it along my football. And then the little bands are 3/8 of an inch by 1 1/4 inches. And again, that was just simply by trial and error. All I did was I placed my middle band so I had kind of a middle, and then just kind of tried to space everything out towards the outside. So again, I'll put those measurements online for you so you don't have to try to remember those or write those down for me talking quickly. But that's basically how I produce the football. So I am going to just finish up here, and then I will we'll have our finished page. Okay, so I am back. I've just finished my football page. I was just putting the bands onto my grip here on my football. So this is my finished page. It's complete. All I need to do is add my photographs now. So I hope you like that little tutorial on how to use the Horizon 3x5 A and B set. And instead of making our classic page the way the die was intended to be used, to kind of use it for a little bit of an alternative. Just to let you know, in case you don't own this set is actually going to be on special for this weekend. Our entire online store, all of our products, including our grid paper, our dies, our tools, they are 25% off. For this weekend only, however, you also get an additional 5% off the Horizon 3x5 A and B set. The other set that you actually get an additional 5% off of is our Bliss set. And I really like this Bliss set. Some people have had trouble using it in the past, and they may not have liked necessarily the original design, but I wanted to show you again, thinking outside of the box. This is a design that I made with the Bliss set. And the reason I like the Bliss set is because it gives me 4 nice, really big areas to put circular photos, and I just like the effect that this page made. So we went from football to baseball, and here now what I've got is I've got 13 pictures on this page. I've got 9 in the background here, and I've got 4 larger photos making up these circles. Some people ask me where these circles came from. I actually used a circle from our ear-to-ear set in order to, and it fit kind of perfectly here with a nice border. But that's where the circle came from. But you can really use any circle die that you may have in your collection to cut your photos to place in here. But this is Bliss. This is also going to be an additional 5% off. So you've got Horizon 3x5 A and B and Bliss that are an additional 5% off. And then all of our paper is also going to be an additional 5% off. And the reason why I keep saying additional is because our entire store is 25% off. All paper, Bliss A, B, and C bundle, and the Horizon 3x5 A and B set are also going to be your 5% off. So I hope this tutorial on making the football page helped in case you were interested in remaking the football page. I hope that maybe this idea for Bliss gave you a new idea or some new motivation to use either the Bliss die set that you already have, or maybe if you were interested in buying it but weren't quite sure how to use it. I just love the look of this page. I think it turned out beautifully. If you have any questions, we're available on Facebook. Please like us on Facebook. Visit our store at acraftysituation.com. I wanted to thank you so much again. Again, we're sorry to miss you at CKC Manchester this year, but we wish you good health. We wish you safety until we can see you again. And thank you so much. Have a great day.